Oh, I've got something quite deep. Well, not deep, but it's quite interesting.
Is it about a deep hole?
Sort of, yeah. Are you aware of Australian rapper Iggy Azalea?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah, I've heard a lot of debate over whether her arse is real or not, or whether
who
she's
cares?
had
It's
implants.
great.
Well, you know, some of us want authenticity, Matt.
She's got a hot bod.
Yeah,
I'm going
she
to come
does,
out and say
she
it.
does.
But she makes a lot of her money from sort of over-sexualising her act a little bit.
Disagree with that.
And she came out and did an interview a couple of weeks ago. You know, everyone expected to keep it light and fluffy. Got a new album coming out. And she said, I had to stop crowd surfing. I'm only doing like 2,000 seaters now, but I still have to put up barriers. Because when I crowd surf, people try and finger me.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would have expected.
She also mentioned that she now has to wear 2 pairs of underpants plus tights on stage for vaginal protection. And that she
I've got that
faced
second
assault.
DP vaginal protection.
She faced assault mainly from women. Girls will try to do it more than guys because girls think it's cool, like we both got a vagina. Doesn't make it okay.
What? Surely it does. I went to see Aerosmith last week because, you know their guitarist?
Yeah.
What's his name again? Some Johnny Kramer or something
Yeah.
like that. Me and him had a falling out according to last week's episode of TLDR. So I thought I'd go and see him to clear the air. Grabbed his cock and said,
Yeah.
look, we've both got one, and he loved it.
Yeah, he probably did.
Yeah, so-
That's the Aerosmith boys, though, isn't it?
Aisha Tyler, is that her name? That's something completely different, isn't it?
Iggy Azalea.
Yeah. She has got some... she's got some explaining to do.
She came out and said, they think I'm real slutty. Like, oh, she got a song called Pussy. I know what she wants. She wants these 2 fingers. Why would I want a stranger to ever finger me? Buying my album for $12 doesn't mean you get to finger me when I come to your city. Well, this got a lot of hype in the whole, oh, this is disgusting, this is awful, how would people do this? You wouldn't assault a woman in the street just because they were wearing shorts, and it was the whole argument that just because she over-sexualised her act doesn't mean she's asking for it thing. But
It did happen.
to crowd surf is actively saying, I want people to touch me and
Yeah.
push me all over. And I'm not saying you should then just slip a finger in, but you're sort of risking a lot of trouble.
This is like a really difficult thing to talk about because the whole are you asking for it if you dress a certain way thing is such a touchy subject.
It's a very touchy subject, so
a
I'm
really
just going to
touchy
give my
subject.
opinion on it. No, but you're not helping yourself.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And there is an argument that you shouldn't have to think about helping yourself. But
you do.
But we live in a society where rape, although horrible and abhorrent and people shouldn't do it, happens.
Yeah, that's the thing about this is that, like, whether or not she should have had to consider this
Is almost not part of the argument.
Yeah.
That's a whole different argument in itself about changing society, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. That's a huge, massive issue.
Yeah.
And, well, yeah, that is the overlying issue.
Yeah.
That people shouldn't immediately think, well, I can see a bit of her bum.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and try and fondle it. People will do that. And so, should you protect yourself from that? Yes.
On the one hand, I think since if people are trying to finger you left, right, and centre, and you can probably pinpoint the reason as being that you're like a really overly sexualised famous person, then on the one hand, I can see the argument for maybe cleaning your act up a bit and wearing trousers on stage.
But it's made you all your money.
But also, as well as that, you don't want to push society into a direction where we cover up more.
Yeah, because that's just censorship.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So it's a really difficult one. I think for now, while we sort all these issues out, while we tell people, because believe it or not, I agree that people shouldn't finger people they don't know without their consent.
It's
a bit rapey. It's not a good thing to do.
I think that's sexual.
It's almost rape. Yeah, it almost is. But regardless of whether or not people shouldn't or should, and they shouldn't, people still do, and you should probably be aware of that fact and
protect yourself from that issue.
You shouldn't live in constant fear of it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is difficult for us to talk about because we're both dudes.
Yeah, but
Males, that means.
it happens to men as well, I suppose, that crowd surf. You get like your clothes torn off and you lose shoes and people grab your cock.
Finger your arsehole.
But
Yeah.
people don't talk about that as much, not because it's not an issue, but because men sort of care less, I think. I think men...
I don't know, I think it's more that men don't want to talk about it because they don't want to be perceived a certain way. Like, they don't want to be perceived as being weak.
Yeah.
So they don't want to say, oh no, someone fingered me in the arse. Because they're afraid of people saying, oh man up, get over it.
But I think if you're a rock star, for instance, people in crowd surf,
yeah,
I think sort of, you know, rock, punk, all that kind of stuff. You're sort of diving about with a kind of fuck it attitude. And I think you care a lot less about people just ripping your shirt and grabbing your balls.
Yeah, maybe.
Than you do about somebody fingering you.
It's interesting because a lot of these musical genres have their own sort of dress sense attached to them. And mostly it's, you know, like leather trousers or something like that, very difficult to poke a finger through. So I think a lot of people who crowd surf are already protected against it. But then you've got your more modern acts, like your JB, Bieber, who wears his trousers down to like his lower thigh. And I imagine that makes it quite easy for people to try and slide a finger in.
It's a sort. I thought it was sort of an unwritten rule at concerts
that you're allowed to finger the act.
No, that you don't sort of unnecessarily touch or
never sexually assault anyone.
No,
that's a written rule. Actually,
yeah, that's
a law.
A law. Yeah. No, but even like if somebody came out, you wouldn't grab their hair. You wouldn't pull somebody's.
Yeah, it's rude.
Earring out. You wouldn't do anything like that. Like it's just there's crowd surfing and moving somebody along, and then there's overstepping a line.
Yeah. The thing about all of this, I think, is that people delve too quickly into complete and total idealism and living in this fantasy, idealistic society that's just never going to happen. Like, I agree that people shouldn't be rapists or sexual assaulters or whatever. Like, you know, I agree, but to say that we should try to manufacture a society where you never have to worry about anyone ever doing anything bad is leaning very far towards controlling people almost too much. Because in order to stop people from doing that, you'd have to like lock away the mentally ill. Yeah, because absolutely. There are a lot of people who are born with a little thing in their head that says finger everyone, just rape people and you know murder people and whatever. So you can't really control those people because they're insane.
I think it's not even a case of mentalists. Like in a crowd of 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, however many, you sort of have a certain level of anonymity. Yeah. And so when you don't think anyone's watching, don't think anyone could call you back on it, you sort of do whatever you want.
Yeah, I agree.
And so
I still wouldn't do that.
Yeah, you wouldn't, but there are people
most people wouldn't, but yeah,
who have a certain amount of drinks and go, well, no one knows who I am.
Yeah.
In the same way that people just punch random people in the face or do whatever it is.
You just can't predict human behaviour that accurately, and you can't expect to rule out any negative behaviour. It's going to happen. And if it didn't happen, we'd all be really soft.
Well, just the laws of probability say that, crowd surfing is bad. If you're crowd surfing over 1,000 people, 1, 2, 10, 15 of them are going to be a bit weird. Yeah. 990 of them are just going to be going, well, hey, woohoo! Yeah. I'm glad to be here and pass you along. And
I'd never really thought about this. I'd never considered that crowd surfers ever get assaulted in any weird way. I suppose it's quite an obvious thing to think about when you bring it up, but this was never something that I'd ever considered. I suppose it probably happens quite a lot.
Yeah. If you crowd surf over a lot of drunk people, they're probably... I sort of know a guy, friend of a friend, who has one of the shoes of the lead singer of The Foals, who are just like a sort of indie band. Yeah. But, like, I suppose that shit happens. They seem quite tame. Yeah. Like, if you listen to their music, it's very just sort of generic, tame stuff. But crowd surfing, you're sort of asking for trouble. And while it looks like a great load of fun...
Does it? I don't know.
Yeah, for a little while.
Would you ever do it? Would you crowd surf?
Not if I was in the crowd. You get people in crowds who often go, well, hey, crowd surf,
I'm going to do it.
You're a cock. You're a fucking idiot.
Someone just lowers them to the ground.
Like in that episode of The Simpsons where they just pass them along and then throw them off the side. It's like, that's idiotic and stupid. But if I was there and, 15,000 people had paid to see me, I probably would do it.
Do it at the next TLDR live show.
Yeah, well, when is that?
LA Improv next Thursday.
Brilliant. Yeah. Where can we get tickets if you're listening?
So tickets for the next TLDR live show .org/tickets /offers /coupon offers /redeem.
Brilliant. What's the code?
Joe.
Joe.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I would crowd surf, yeah. But I would sort of expect people to do some shitty things to me.
Yeah. I don't see the benefit. I wouldn't do it.
I imagine
I've never thought about it, but if someone said, right, you're going to have an opportunity tonight to crowd surf, I'd think about it. And one of the first things I'll think about is hands on my body, on my person. Even by mistake, someone could put the heel of their hand right on the old BB of BBC fame, bull, and then that'd really give me that horrible stomachy feeling for like half an hour. I don't need that.
That's true.
I don't want that.
I think crowd surfing would be great fun for the first 5 seconds. The actual best part
And then you're like, let me down.
is the stage dive. Like,
I guess so.
The biggest.
Being caught. I'd say, right, everyone, gather round to the front. Not too many, though, or you get crushed. Like,
Hillsborough.
Yeah. We don't want a Hillsborough. Don't joke about Hillsborough, sorry. And then I'd say, right, I'm going to dive in, catch me, and then put me gently back onto the stage, and I'll continue the act.
Right, okay. Continue my spoken word poetry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have a small gong, and I'd gong it, and then do a little haiku about the moon, and then crowd surf for a second. Yeah.
I mean, it's weird though. It's crowd surfing. Like you say, I'd never really thought about it. But also, I don't see a lot of women crowd surfing, so I'd never put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't finger people in public.
You shouldn't finger people in public.
Or if they don't consent to the fingering.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think the media helps with stuff like this.
In what sense?
Because you have her over-sexualising her act.
Yeah.
And then you have the media concentrating on that.
Yeah.
Rather than music.
Yeah.
And so you're pushing almost the fact she's a musician or any of these people are musicians out of the way, and you're sort of putting them on a pedestal of they're so overtly sexual, they love sex. Oh, here they are talking about sex because we've asked them 20 questions about sex and none about their albums. And so it just builds up and builds up and builds up. And so I'm not saying you're going to get more perverts at your concert, but if you talk about how you love dick because you're backed into a corner where these radio DJs go, so...
You love dick, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, not... Yeah.
Then it's not helpful, really. It's just not helpful. Like, you can talk about sex as much as you want. I'm not saying censor what you actually want to say.
But people are being egged on and it's being pushed.
But it almost becomes your over-sexualisation, comfort with your own body, whatever. Well, that's great to, like, feminists, etc. It's good that you feel that way. When all the questions and all the media and all the attention you get is because of that. Yeah. Is because of, oh, look, here she is wearing next to nothing. Oh, ask her about this and not about what you're actually doing and actually achieving. Then it just doesn't help.
No, I agree.
I mean, the media isn't complicit in sexual abuse. That's not what I'm saying. But if the media didn't build it up and it's all on the, I suppose marketing, advertising agencies, their label. The same, but then less people are going to be drawn in because, she does a crazy show where she sort of occasionally wiggles a bum.
Yeah, and then you get to finger her.
Yeah.
Do you? Well, I did. So
she comes near enough.
Yeah. I don't know. I do agree with that, but also I think that it's difficult to say that these things shouldn't be discussed by the media because
it's not that it shouldn't be discussed.
Things to be discussed. And in a sense, we're the media. We're a large chunk of the media. We get millions of listeners.
It's not that it shouldn't be discussed, but it's the way in which it's discussed. Like, the way the media treats a person equates to how the fans will treat a person. Yeah. So, if they treat you as, basically, not a sex object, but someone that's driven by sex, their whole personality and whether it's a character or not, their whole act is overtly sexual and driven by sex. And the media bigs that up, then of course fans are going to treat them the same way. They're not going to go, well, that's not how she really is at home. She just likes to have a lie down and play with the cat.
I mean, a few people probably are, but then a lot of people don't have the time or energy to discern things in that way. A lot of people will just swallow what the media tells them, and it's not to say, oh, people are stupid, but it's just that
it's quicker and easier.
Yeah, you can't apply, critical thinking to every single thing you read on BuzzFeed or ClickHole.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's why the media, in a way, is complicit in building these sort of stars into not sex objects, but sort of sexual...
Sex icons.
Yeah, icons almost.
Yeah.
Rather than performers, musicians, actors, whatever they are, who are very comfortable with what they do, happy to do it like this.
It's also that these things drive sales, I imagine, in such a big way, because a lot of people just got home from work and they want to masturbate.
Yeah.
So if you go on, like, you know, whatever your favourite blog is or whatever, and there's a picture of, like, 32 pictures of Iglesias, whatever her name is, ass that you won't believe. Yeah. Mind-blowing, so inappropriate. You'll click them and say, oh, this is inappropriate.
Yeah.
I agree. You know, a lot of people just want an excuse to, you know, have a wank or look at some titillating pictures.
And that's
so
the thing,
things
and that's
drive clicks.
What people don't really like to talk about is the fact that a lot of these musicians aren't seen as musicians. They're basically semi-naked people who are very attractive, often very young, and also sometimes sing. Yeah. Like, the singing is almost secondary.
They're almost like international socialites.
Yeah, and so it gets to the point where you have people who get national, international fame, someone like Adele, who is nothing like that at all, and that comes as a huge shock to everybody. Yeah. That knocks everybody back and goes, wow, she's just a sort of fat, normal girl singing about being miserable, not singing about getting up on the dick.
It's always a huge thing, isn't it, when there's some new female celebrity who strays aside from that very specific thing.
Thin, tall, boobs.
I can remember when Jennifer Lawrence first came about, people were saying that about her.
Oh God, she's so normal. She's just like one of us.
But now she's a fucking supermodel.
Well, even when she came about, she wasn't anything like us.
She wasn't, but...
Rich and in films.
She fell over at that award ceremony.
Yeah, and you know, is that cute?
Yeah, it's adorkable.
It's not.
It is, it's adorkable.
That's also a horrible word.
Why?
I've never heard that before. It's awful.
26 most adorkable pictures of Jennifer Lawrence. I'll send you that link later.
Oh, cheers. That definitely exists.
Yeah, it does. I might Google adorkable and Jennifer Lawrence and see what it comes up with.
But yeah. And so, like you say, as soon as anybody doesn't fit the mould,
it's like, whoa!
It's like, wow, that's great. Great to see that she's come out and is doing it her own way and doesn't rely on being naked. And
yeah.
If you rely on being naked, great, but you have to sort of accept that's what you like. And as sad as it is, and as sad a reflection as it is on society, you're going to get unwanted attention.
Yeah. Here's an article from Jezebel.com, 11 reasons why Jennifer Lawrence is your BFF in your head. And then it's got 11 pictures of Jennifer Lawrence pulling faces. Which is just exactly what you're talking about, because she's not always concerned with her image. She's okay with doing wacky faces. Admittedly, when she's wearing a fucking really expensive dress and covered in makeup.
But an award ceremony.
Yeah, baby steps though. But yeah, it's like... It's almost quite sad in a way that is noteworthy. Like,
it's more noteworthy that someone looks vaguely normal than the fact that she's not wearing any clothes and has a song called "I Love Hard Black Cock."
Is that one of her songs?
I don't think so, but it may as well be. And you know, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
I love hard black cock. There's nothing wrong with it at all.
But, BBC, big black cock.
Yeah, big black cock.
But there comes a point where you have to accept that you're probably going to get some unwanted attention. Be that physically in crowds, be that online, be that wherever it is. As soon as you become a female celebrity, there are going to be people out there masturbating to you.
What?
And, you know, that's weird and sad, and people will be like, oh, that's creepy. And yeah, I suppose it is creepy.
But you can never stop it.
But you're never ever going to be able to stop it.
No, ever.
And so you either have to not think about it or ignore it.
Same thing. Come to terms with it.
Yeah, just deal with it.
Talk to your therapist.
Because what else can you do about it?
Yeah.
It's not like...
I would probably address it. I would probably say something. If I was a famous lady, I'd probably contact those great guys over at TFCPodcast.com and say, can I have some airtime? And I'd probably... we'll see if we can pencil you in. And I would address it. I think that's probably the sensible thing to do, is to just address it sincerely. Because most people are intelligent enough to get that and to hear you out if you were to do that, if you're a famous lady.
Talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, obviously we're coming at this from a male perspective. If you say this to a woman about, she's got to stop crowd surfing because she's getting fingered and sexually assaulted, then of course they're going to be like, this is horrible, and of course nobody has a right to sexually abuse people, but
not really.
But
yeah, apart from war veterans.
Yeah,
they could do it.
They were at war.
Yeah,
they died for your country, or didn't die.
Or didn't die, really.
But you know, there comes a point when you have to understand what society is.
Yeah, you can't,
and you can't live in an ideology and go, "This is horrible. Nobody deserves this." And of course, nobody does deserve this. But you're never going to be able to stop it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a reason to just give up.
No. But it's two different things to say. This shouldn't happen and this doesn't happen. Fine, this shouldn't happen, I agree, but it does happen.
Yeah.
You can't say, therefore this doesn't happen, or I won't rest until this doesn't happen, because the only way you're ever going to get a world that doesn't have any rapists in it is eugenics. That's the only way to do it.
That.
No. And that's not to say give up. We should try and reduce the amount of people who want to sexually assault people by shaming it more often.
Yeah.
And also by focusing on things that actually matter, because there's a lot of... This whole movement is like fairly new in social media and stuff like that, so there are a lot of missteps. But you always hear like, there aren't enough female video game characters. It's like, that's not really the issue.
Yes.
That is sort of an issue, but put that on like number 11 on the list.
There's a lot bigger issues than that.
Have you ever been to like Pakistan?
Yeah, I mean, this really isn't an issue. It's just that it's a vaguely famous person saying, sometimes people get a bit handsy and try and sexually assault me.
I mean, she's done what I would have recommended because she's come out and talked about it earnestly.
Yeah.
And even if that in itself isn't a huge deal, it's still a big deal, I think. But even if it's not like the biggest deal ever, it's still important that she's talked about it because it's a conversation starter and it's going to get people to actually think about this.
Well, she got the TLDR guys.
Yeah.
Got that wrong.